Hello, how are we doing today? My name is Spectrum Dominus, and today we are sorting cards for grading purposes. We've got our boards up here for PSA, our 3 rows to go in the next one, and our 2 rows to go in the next one. But with the next one coming up in about 2 weeks, I suspect, in a week from yesterday, I'll get another paycheck. With that paycheck, I will pay the PSA annual subscription, and then it's a matter of just posting them and sending them. So we have 3 people going, me, Shane, and Lucas, also known as Ancient, Project Ancient. And so I just got to gather everyone's information and cards together and get them loaded, but I can't load them until we update the subscription. So it'll be about 2 weeks, I think. But that gives me 2 weeks to come up with new cards and switch out some of these things, get the best cards we can up and going. So, sorting cards, let's see what we got. Today I just grabbed a box, and that box is, it says on the box, Upper Deck MVP Baseball 2003. You can see back in the day, I was really trying to be organized, and I was... Oh yeah, it says 1 through 220. It says complete set. I don't know what D stands for, but I was very much trying to organize, and I collected by the set. I'd love to get rich enough to have the room and money to be buying and collecting sets again. But this is stuff I bought and collected by pack. You know, this is all pack opened, packed, you know, MVP Upper Deck Baseball. So I think it's a complete set because that's what it says on the box. We're just going to quickly thumb through it and make it an incomplete set. Part of me, now that I didn't know it was a complete set, now that I know it's a complete set, part of me hopes there's nothing in there worth taking out, because I could probably sell it off as a complete set easier than, well, I'd probably just rather throw it in. Alright, Troy Gloss. No, it's not a... So it looks like the first and the last card I sleeved just to help the cards stay. But there wasn't any actual... wasn't like I was protecting except from scratching on the box, it looks like. So, Gloss, Darren Ernstead, Jared Washburn, Francisco Rodriguez. You know what we should do? Let's take one moment while you look at that Garrett Anderson, and let's bring up 2003 Upper Deck MVP. MVP baseball checklist. There it is. Now, let's see. Yep, this is it. Started with the same number. Let's see if anyone on this, they say rookie. Now, a lot of times with this, you're not going to see... Oh, there's one. Hideki Matsui rookie. Okay. That might be worth pulling. I was going to say, a lot of times with something like this, it won't say rookie. Here's some rookies. Rich Feister, Brandon Webb, Robbie Hamrick, Matt Cava, Chris Capuano, Mike Hessman, Jason Shield, Ryan Tom, David Sanders, Clint Barton, Jeremy Bonderman, Wilfred Ledesma, Colin Porter, Jason Griffin, Michael Nakamura, who's a wrestler, isn't he? Luis Alive, Anthony Ferrari, Roach, Jim Duggan, Jose Contreras, Michael, a bunch of no names. At least they put rookie codes. I was going to say Michael Ojeda. I was going to say a lot of times with this, they won't consider... Oh, and Hideki Matsui as a checklist, which would be considered another rookie. When we get to the Matsui, we may pull it out, or we may leave it. We'll see. But Tim Salmon, I figured there's already an Upper Deck from this season. Wow, because these are so white cards. Yeah, that's a little better. Adam Kennedy, Junior Spivey, Craig Counsell, Steve Finley. I thought maybe they wouldn't say it at all because Javi Lopez, Rafael Furcal. I think it's I forgot. This is a 2003 set, Geronimo Gil, which I clearly collected from packs, like it's not a factory purchase set. And I forgot I collected in 2003. I tried to get back into it in about that time, I guess. Rodrigo Lopez. I remember getting out of it way back when, and I never remember getting back in. Jeff Conine, Shea Hildebrand. Yeah, this is Jason Varitek. There's very few even stars that I want to pull for my own. Mark Pryor, I had a Mark Pryor. I was a Mark Pryor fan. That was more about playing baseball on the PlayStation. When I put my teams together, Mark Pryor was always on my team. He was a rookie or a prospect even at that point, or at least on the game. But we already knew he was a star in real life, so I would always hunt down Mark Pryor. He would be my second or third pitcher usually, but really my ace. Aaron Boone. I always figured in those games that the stats would determine how well you could hit the opposing pitcher, but me controlling the pitcher, where I put the pitches and how hard I threw it and stuff like that, had more effect than the other aspect. So it's kind of like in football. I'll draft a heavy defense or a heavy offensive lineman, really good at that, and then the skill players, those I'll draft last, and I'll be running a team with the worst quarterback, worst running back, worst wide receiver on Madden, but that's okay because as long as I control them well enough, play smart ball, the computer takes care of the parts that I can't control. I can't control the defense. I can call the defense, and I can control one guy on the defense. But when I'm not there, I can't control how much other players are covered. So I always draft heavy on those, George Lombard. AJ Burnett. So that's my strategy is if I'm controlling the person, then I'll leave it up to me. I don't care how good the person is. If the computer is going to control them, Josh Beckett, then I need to get the best person I can for the computer control because the stats will take into account that. So I feel like that with baseball the same thing, and so I always drafted my team first, Sean Green. And then the pitchers were like the last things, and I would just control the pitching. So I didn't mind that Mark Pryor was not considered the best guy in the game. I liked him because he was a real player. I could get him late. And it's funny how sometimes you can let things like video games or, stuff like that affect your fandom for a player. Milton, Corey Kosky. Now, what I will say is Doug Mekowitz, something with AJ Pernitsky. What I will say is that when you are out of baseball, when you're not really paying attention, as I wasn't during, like, from 94 to 2000 something, and I wasn't really at this time, all this looks like and feels like, and it probably is for some part, but it feels like there's not a single star in this. It's not rookies, but there were no stars in baseball at that time, which is absurd. Jeremy Burnitz, Al Leiter. I know the Mike Trouts and stuff of now, Jason Giambi, and I know of the Ken Griffey Jr.'s of then, and then you hear of some of the ones that were in the middle, and you're like, oh yeah, they're good, but they're not the same. But they probably, had I watched it, Scott Hattenberg, I gotta get me a Scott Hattenberg. Scott Hattenberg, for those of you who don't know, this is the guy who was played by Chris Pratt in Moneyball. The movie Moneyball was about that A's team, and that guy Scott Hatteberg was one of the big players in the game. Pat Burrell, pre-Rays Pat Burrell. So yeah, if you watched and you played around and you were a big baseball person during that time period, and you were there for Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols, and those are the two names that for that era, like kind of fell through, not fell through, but seemed big and held out through when I got back in. But anyone else, all the other ones, the Jim Thomes and stuff like that, I just graded a Jim Thome, Hall of Famer, and until he got that Hall of Fame, I sat here and went, well, no, he's not a Hall. I mean, he was okay, but I think I got to spend some time looking through those All-Star teams back in the days, looking at some of the stat lines for some of those people back in the days, because JT Snow, because I don't have the feeling that there was any good players during that time period. I felt like they were all John Orlerud. Okay, well, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but obviously that's just the view you get when Tino Martinez, when you're just not around long enough to, when you're not around the product during that time period. Jason Isringhausen, Carl Everett, Kevin Mensch, Blaylock. So yeah. Now it does appear that maybe I only have Series 1. I didn't look at how many cards were in the set and how many, but there's a Jason Giambi checklist. But it does look like, because that's all the cards I have, and this says 218. The checklist is 220. So first of all, it's not a complete set. Which is, not good, but not terrible. I don't think it matters that it's not a complete set. I think what matters is that we got nothing from this video. I may have to grab a box and do a few more just because all of those cards are going to be sorted. And then we got this one card in the back. Tony Batista and Geronimo Gil Connections. Both Batista and Gil cleared the outfield fence in the set 11-7 victory against the Blue Jays on August. Yeah, it's not even a... I guess I could stick it in the dollar box. We'll stick that in the dollar box. The rest of them, we're going to stick in the sort and throw away. And just so this isn't a complete loss, we're going to grab this box. I wasn't going to do this box. I opened it up and I was like, are these all hockey cards? Is this a set? What's going on here? Oh, that seems more than I can really handle. We just won't do it. But we're going to take the time to try to determine. Now, what I will say is these are all sleeved, so I can take the gloves off. The gloves are off. But let's see. If they look like they're numbered in all sorts of weird, so it's not that that's a set. Debut, Tyler Johnson, Yanni Gorge. These are all Lightning. All right, so these are my guys. I don't know. These are all Rangers, and I like Rangers, but Alex Lafreniere. But I don't collect them. I don't collect Flames. Are these? Let's look at the numbers again real quick. They're from different sets. So these have already been sorted by team, is what I'm guessing. All right. So this box, we're gonna keep going, but yeah. So these are all Flames. Then Oiler. Nope. Now we're into Pittsburgh. Maybe there's only one Oiler. Blackhawk, no, there's another Oiler. So I don't even know what the mix on this is. So here's the problem we're going to run into. I don't know who's big, who matters. I don't know who I collect aside from a few. Like I know Matthew I've heard that name. But aside from a few Lightning and a few Stars, there's no one I really care about. So almost all of this is going into sort teams for giveaways. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sort these for teams for giveaways. I will look into, like, those things are clearly just cards. But we'll look into, that's just a card too. We'll look into things like this. If these are not just cards, I think they are. I think they're just cards in the set. They're numbered 42. They're probably just the beginning of the set. If anything is an insert, that's not an insert. Now, there's no inserts here. They're all parts of the set, just different parts. I'm going to take the Lightning. I'll put the Lightning for the time being. Put the Lightning in my PC. Now, I may not keep all that Lightning, obviously. The debut dates says DD2. That is an insert. We're going to stick that in the dollar bin. And then everything else, because it's numbered, is just a regular card. And let's keep going through these. Last little bit that's here. Since I started, I might as well finish. I was only going to do half the box, but because it's quick, we'll make sure that none of these are inserts. Now this, you can see these were in order, at least somewhat. But yeah, we're going to put all of these. None of these are inserts, none of these are Lightning. So we're going to put all of these in the team sets. Now, there we go. That's a name I know and collect. We will be collecting Sidney Crosby, so I'll keep that. Malkin, Carter, Gensel. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone here. Connor McDavid, I'll collect that. If I see one or two more that I know like that, I may pull it out, but I don't know enough to really. And I will say that Sidney Crosby, it will be the really big guys. Sometimes you'll see me collect guys that aren't that great, or just because those are the guys I've attached to. But with hockey, the ones I know are the really great ones. The Alex Ovechkins and the Connor McDavids and stuff like that, because you just don't not know them. But those are the ones I'll keep. I'll keep the I'll keep the Connor McDavid and the Sidney Crosby. I'll flip through it one more time, but I did not see anyone there any name that I noticed. And those will all go to teams. So we got 2 cards going to the dollar bin, one of the Orioles, one of the Ilya Sorokin debut dates. We have 2 Sidney Crosbys, 1 Connor McDavid, and a bunch of Lightning going to my PC. And then we have 2 stacks, yay high, of hockey going to hockey sorting, and a stack of yay high of MVP baseball going to baseball sorting. Alright guys, that is all for this sorting video. We did not pull anything there. That was probably the most boring sorting video. That's what happens when you just pull a random box and see what you get. We're going to keep going in the next video with another random box, see what you get. Don't even know what's in it, but I'll see you guys there.